to receive emails from the city administration. Other people have put in another $300 or $400. We're up to about $1,000 as a group to find out what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say we have a cancer in our house. It's a malignant cancer, and you can put a stop to it. The purchased emails are that I've seen, and there's more coming as I understand, are evidence that the mayor, the chief of staff, HR, and others have been in a premeditated conspiracy and resulting cover-up of matters beyond the April 8th request. This is serious stuff, and I'm glad you're going to be looking into it. Therefore, the scope of this investigation this independent investigation will be beyond the alleged violations by the HR department. We have found through these emails after April 8th significant examples of people that are not in this room who have conspired to hurt the reputations of the people behind me and the people that worked in the basement of the library.
Jane Snow?
Jane Snow, 9 Coffin Street. I'm also rising to speak and really implore you to have the investigation for the library. A lot of people have been hurt by this. A person has lost their job because of this. It needs to be figured out. It needs to be done by an outside agency that's aware of how unions work and what their role is. And hopefully, if people have made mistakes, because we're all human, we do make mistakes, we can correct it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I've had the great pleasure of working with many of these people down in the Archival Center, and they're just absolutely wonderful, and I am heartbroken that they feel that their names have been, muddied, and I hope that you all vote to approve that. The other thing is I was very upset to see the words revised CIP. The CIP was not revised. A item was taken out so that one counselor doesn't have to recuse himself. That's not changing it. It's just muddying the waters, and I'm really upset with that. Personally, I'm at the point, water is first with me. We need to put that as a priority. I know it's a lot of money, but trust me, I prefer having the water addressed versus new tennis courts, and I picked on one thing, I should have picked on many, but we need to set our priorities, and that isn't one of them. The other thing that I am upset about is to hear about the residential parking. The councilors, there were some that were adamant that we had to take parking off the waterfront. We did. Now, we're short parking spaces, and we're also minus that revenue of about 100 and some odd spaces. So let's increase the fees. No. We as residents live here, and we talk about just one more thing. So let's increase a $5 residency thing for the year from $5 to $10. Just one more ad. But wait a minute, let's do that to the residents. But if you live off the streets off of downtown, we'll decrease your fees to have a visitor parking sticker. It's a problem. I know it's a problem, but I saw all the comparisons to other communities, of which we are not. Tell me, why is it that the city of Newburyport needs to do these fees? And don't tell me we need to be in line with Portsmouth, whatever.
Thank you.
And so, anyway, those are my ones, and later you can tell me about Whittier.
All right, thank you. Anybody online wishing to speak? And I am seeing none, so we will move forward to the mayor's comment. And that would involve me making the mayor a panelist, which I've done. Oh, and there's the mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. Just a few things for you. I know you've got a really packed agenda tonight. That was It's supposed to be a joke. I hope everyone had a very happy 4th weekend. It was really nice. We had a Thursday, Friday off here at City Hall, so it was nice having some downtime. I did want to recognize Harbor Master Paul Hogg and his staff. They had 3 major calls over the weekend, and I think they said it was about up to 5 near fatalities that they were able to save. So just a hats off to him and his team. I guess, we've had some great weather recently, and they're going to have a really busy summer. So hats off to Paul. Budget, FY25, thank you for passing a budget. That's always a big deal. It's a long process, so thank you for getting together and passing a budget. I did submit the CIP, and I did change it a little bit, but I wanted to change it so everyone could vote on it tonight. I am completely open to have a workshop with councilors throughout this year if there are some changes, but unfortunately not one change to the CIP was submitted during this process. So that's why I submitted the plan tonight, and hopefully we can get a vote on that. What else? Brown School Adaptive Reuse RFP, so that is out. As you know, they're going to close that on August 15th. I am putting together an advisory group to review the submissions. I want to thank Councilor Shan, Councilor Donahue, and Councilor Zeid for agreeing to participate in that. I appreciate that. We're going to have Affordable Housing Trust members on there, city staff, city councilors, and some residents as well. So we had some cool news on the waterfront last week. The Merrimack River Watershed Council got some new technology. It's actually only being used right now here in Newburyport and over in France for the Paris Olympics, as they are checking their rivers for the health of their rivers before the Olympics. But we got this piece of equipment on loan from the city of Lowell, and we got some donations from local businesses to run this. But this new automated bacterial sensor is going to provide up-to-date, real-time monitoring of the river. It's going to record the data. It's kind of a floating laboratory, and it's going to record the data anytime there is a CSO event in the river, and it's going to record the results 3 days after the event. So I just want to thank the Merrimack River Watershed Council for working with us, working with the Merrimack River Planning Commission to getting this important technology to Newburyport. And hopefully the plan is to have a fleet of these down the river in the years to come. Department of Recreation Youth Services at 59 Low. You have that second reading of the zoning in your packet tonight. Again, I think I said everything last time. Let's get this passed and let's move on so we can get to a final cost estimate later this summer or early fall. Streets and sidewalk work, as you can see, is continuing across the city. They've been very busy. They're trying to finish up Lime Street right now, and then they'll, with the sidewalks, and then they're going to move over to Johnson Street. Once all the sidewalk work is done, then they're going to come back to a lot of these streets and put the top coat on. But DPS has been very busy. We're going to have line painting starting across the city. Byron, did you hear that? Line painting across the city. It's going to start next Monday. It's going to be in the evenings. And we are also meeting, along with a lot of other departments, with the leaders of Yankee Homecoming this week to start talking about preparations for their festival beginning on July 27th. Lastly, I just want to mention Council of Aging has a lot of great things happening this summer. They have a new summer music series that's going to start on Wednesdays. Starting this Wednesday, it's going to run from 11:30 to 1, and they're bringing in performers each Wednesday, except the Wednesday of Yankee Homecoming. But it's just a way to check out some great music and a great venue down at the Senior Center, Community Center. That's it from me.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions or comments for the Mayor? Councilor Preston.
Yeah, thanks. So I just want to make a clarification. You made a point of saying that none of us gave any feedback on the CIP. And I want to be very clear for the record that I met with the Chief of Staff 2 days after the budget meeting to clarify both my vote on the budget as well as the CIP. And I was very clear with him that the reason that I chose to vote against the CIP was because I was looking for prioritization in the CIP. I'm not looking for high, medium, low for each project. I'm looking for what are the top 10 priorities of all the things in the CIP for the city. So I did make a suggestion about how to change the CIP to be able to enable me to vote positively on the CIP. I'm not seeing that change in the CIP. So I just want to be clear that at least I gave feedback.
I didn't hear you say that in the open floor, so I never heard you say that. So
I did very clearly state I was looking for prioritization of the projects here on the floor at the budget meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what no, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm happy to meet and talk about it if you'd like more.
I don't think that's necessary.
The Chief of Staff is clear.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, for the update, and, devastated about whatever's happening at the water, that the harbor master had to help, and One of the things that I noticed is like the strong riptides and notes, like notices about that, and I just want to put that out there. I don't know if there's been discussion, but I did go with some folks, and they didn't know they were wading in the water, especially the basin side, so I just wanted to put that in your ear as well. But I do think sometimes people go in and not realize, that the strong riptide. So just any notification we could do. Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the mayor? All right, thank you, Mayor.
Have a great meeting.
Appreciate it. That would lead us to the consent agenda.
Which consists this evening of the approval of the minutes for both June 24th and June 25th. We have 4 communications. Communication 563, which is the Whittier Tech approved assessment for 2024-25 to be received and filed. Communication 564 was a memo on 40R MBTA design dimensional standards to go to P&D and Committee of the Whole. We have application 219, which is an A-frame movable sign for Polished on Pleasant Street to go to license and permits. Application 220 is the chocolate tour, annual chocolate tour, October 5th, 12 to 4 p.m. to go to license and permits. There are no transfers. The following appointments. There are none. The following items are coming out of committee, Budget and Finance. Transfer 197, 198, Communication 556, License and Permits, Application 205, 210, 216, 217, 218, Appointment 496, 498, Communication 558. And that would be the end of the consent agenda.
Motion to
Motion
approve.
Councilor Wright.
Yes, could we remove application 218 and appointment 496 from the consent agenda? Those are not coming out of, they did not come out of committee.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 218 and
And 496
not coming out, staying
not
in.
coming out, staying in committee.
Thank you.
Like to-
So,
Like to remove communication 564, and collectively also to receive and file the mayor's update to the motion.
so removing communication 5564
564,
from the consent agenda, so that would not be,
consent going into regular.
would not be coming out of committee. And the mayor's,
Yeah, 564 is coming out in the regular agenda, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and we have application 218 and 496 staying in license and permits.
I think we need a second for the,
Second.
all right,
we need a second because we're also approving the mayor's update.
Receive and file. Second.
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 We have a second.
Okay, and just, can we just go through that slowly, just so everyone, mainly me, can, so we are, per Councilor Wright, what will stay in committee is application 218, appointment,
Yes,
496.
6.
appointment 496, okay. And then communication 556 is the,
564.
564 is coming out to the regular agenda pursuant to Council McCauley.
okay.
And then we have a motion to approve as amended with the mayor's update being received and filed.
Okay, sounds good. Any discussion? Roll call.
Okay, on the aforesaid motion, Councilor Lane? Yes. Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston? Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis? Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron?
Yes. Will lead us to the regular agenda.
So there are no first reading of appointments, but there is now 564, which is the memo regarding 40R MBTA.
Okay, yes. Trying to keep all my numbers straight here. Councilor McCauley.
A motion to receive and file this, but I will defer to the, so a motion to receive and file.
Second.
The reason for this is really a memo to raise awareness that the planning board has some design standards they'd like to share with everyone, including the council and planning and development committee. And they're inviting everyone to their meeting, their open meeting on the 17th, to be able to discuss that in a more open forum. The reason that I'm asking for us to talk about it now is to raise awareness for it, so that it doesn't go to committee and then come out and say, oh, we should have met with them a week ago, going forward on that. So I'll defer to what the council would like to do with it, but the real impetus of this is to raise awareness for everyone to go, to listen to what the planning board is trying to talk about to enhancements to our 40R zoning. Thank you.
Councilor Shand?
Thank you, Council President. Actually, I agree. I think that's a great idea. It's raising awareness. Got a meeting the next night, so.
And I'll just add, just in terms of agenda setting and logistics, Director Port had emailed myself and Councilor Shand earlier today, a little while ago, and I hadn't totally digested it, but we may post it as a Planning and Development Committee of the Whole, just if councilors want to participate rather than just listen, but we can talk about that offline. Councilor Khan?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I guess maybe I need to understand a little bit more, but I do feel like having it on the docket for planning and development is not a bad thing, because as we know, even though we have this in our current zoning ordinance, we have the dimensional, kind of like these design standards, but we do understand that for the areas we talked about, there might be some concepts to explore. And while I understand that the planning board will be having these open conversations and councilors are invited, this is just another item we could keep and just have it on the agenda in case we hear from the public wanting to hear more about it, or have something like our own kind of forum where we could have the public comment on it as well. So I don't see any harm in keeping it, but I'll listen to the other conversation here, but I just don't see any harm in keeping this going to committee. So we have this as something, a tool that allows us to talk more at this level.
Councilor Wright, then Councilor Shand.
I would just, as the chair of license and permits, I object to these meetings being scheduled on top of my meeting. My calendar's out for the whole year. It would be a courtesy to everybody if we could arrange so that it's not a conflict on my calendar.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Shand?
So, thank you, Council President. If we were to do a joint meeting with the planning board, I don't think our committee would have a quorum. So that's why I can't say that we would be able to do it on the 17th.
Understood. Copy, yeah. Okay, thank you. Motion on the floor is to receive and file.
Is
Further discussion? All right, we will have a roll call. Councilor Donahue?
Sorry. Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so everybody's clear, so the impetus to potentially receive and file it is just so that we can have this conversation to like raise awareness, right? So like, do we have to receive and file it, or is it, I mean, I do agree with the at-large council that sending it to committee would keep it, for conversation purposes, which does make sense to me. So I guess I just, maybe a clarification from the Ward 5 counselor? Like, I mean, is it, like, we all know now the meeting about the 17th, right? So, like, should we still just send it to committee, I guess?
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCauley?
Sure. In clarification, the memo that was sent doesn't talk about the design standards, nor is it a forum to accept design standards. The memo really is to raise awareness. They want to have a discussion about design standards, and the forum for that is for the planning board to have at their existing meeting at 7 o'clock on the 17th, to be able to have an open discussion, not a meeting to actually propose anything, but rather to just have an open discussion about conceptual ideas that they would like to propose in the future in certain circumstances going forward, if there's consensus for it going forward. So that's really it. If the idea is to keep it in committee, really, we can't do anything with it. We can't accept anything of it other than being a reminder note that's there. So.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so the motion on the floor is to receive and file. Councilor
Sorry,
Khan?
can I just, can I be
Yes,
heard?
please, Councilor
Okay, yeah,
Khan, yes.
sorry. Just to be kind of clear, and maybe I'm kind of also a little confused, is so we selected the areas for MBTA communities. And then we know that there might be some dimensional design standards that we might want to consider for those areas we selected. And I hope that's my right interpretation, that the planning board is discussing. So is that correct? And
No.
No, it's not. So I guess what I want to make sure is there is nothing that we want to make sure we have another forum for the public to weigh in on. And that's what I'm really just trying to hone in. So please clarify, and I'm sorry if I'm
Yeah,
kind of
and
confused.
I have promoted Director Port to panelist. If he'd like to speak to, if you've heard any of those questions, Director Port, or, and Councilor Shand also had her hand up. Director Port, have you been following the gist of the conversation?
He's muted, I think.
Can unmute yourself, if you so choose.
Well, Councilor Shand can.
Councilor Shand?
Sorry, I'm not sure if there are any specific questions for me. Certainly, the memo was an invitation to the council to attend and participate in a discussion about the design standards and dimensional standards. Like any zoning amendment, we try to have both the planning board and the council together to have these discussions wherever possible, but certainly recognize that the number of meetings that could be difficult. So defer to the council, just again, an invitation to participate in discussions. We will obviously circle back my office and planning board with any potential recommended changes that markup to the ordinance in any sense of zoning, whether it be here or elsewhere. Just an invitation for that discussion together if you like.
Okay, Councilor Shand?
Sure. So as the Ward 5 counselor said, this is just to notify us that they're going to have a conversation on Wednesday night. And as the at-large counsel from Plum Island said, in chair of license and permits, he can't make it, and other counselor cannot make it. So planning and development committee will not have a quorum. So to say it's a P&D joint hearing with the planning board, we can't do it that night.
Yeah.
That's my reason for saying receive and file, because as the Ward 5 counselor has stated, there's nothing for us to talk about here.
Councilor Khan?
I just want to respond to that. Just because keeping it on the docket doesn't mean we have to have a meeting. But having it in means that we could later have any and schedule a conversation to talk about what we heard. That's all I'm saying. Receiving and filing it takes away the vehicle to talk about what we are hearing. So it doesn't have to be a conflict with anyone. Having it, we have things that stayed on the docket for 2 years. We remember that. So what I'm saying is rushing this out when it is a vehicle for us to pull out when we need to. That's all I just wanted to, that was what I was trying to say. It has nothing to do with making it hard for people to make meetings. It's having the vehicle for us to bring the public engagement if we're hearing responses or reactions. So that was my reason for that. Thank you.
Okay. So, motion on the table is to receive and file.
Correct. Receiving and filing communication 564. Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilor Lane?
No.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
No.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that
So that was communication 564.
correct, and that would leave us to second reading, appointment 501, Keith Hogan, 3 Bartlett Drive, to the Trust Fund Commission.
Motion to approve on second reading? Second.
All right, discussion? All right, hearing none. Roll call.
Okay, on Keith Hogan, Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Orders.
That would leave us to the first order, which is a grant acceptance for the SAFE, S-A-F-E grant program.
Motion to refer to Budget and Finance? Second.
Okay, made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Roll call on Budget and Finance referral of Order 585. Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston? Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Khan? Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Next, we have Order 586, Mr. President, which is the revised FY 25 through 29 CIP order.
Motion to refer to Budget and Finance and Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Roll call on moving 586 to Budget and Finance Committee of the Whole. Councilor Lane?
No.
Councilor McCauley?
No.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis? Yes. Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
It is moved to BNF and COTW.
All right, thank you.
That would lead us to Order 587, which is security surveillance cameras and related policy.
Motion to refer to General Government.
Second.
I'd actually like to send that to Public Works and Safety if it's so fine with me.
Fine with me as well.
So that would be a first.
I'll second.
Second, thank you.
Can we make a committee of the whole?
And Committee of the Whole.
Thank you.
It is done.
Councilor Zede?
So I just want to say that I sponsored this as a courtesy after the budget vote where we made it contingent. There is a list of cameras that didn't seem to make it into the packet, and
It's a couple of pages
all right,
afterwards.
and then there's a, the administration said they had a policy. I don't know if, I never received a copy of it, but it's supposed to be appended to this order as well. So I just wanted you to know it was designed to be a complete order. If it's missing pieces, we'll fix it.
It's in there.
It's in there, okay.
Yeah, it's just
When I
this-
scrolled through the digital one, I didn't see it, but I
There's
could-
just there's something that was placed out of order
Oh,
in,
okay.
in the middle of it, so.
Got it.
Okay, Councilor Khan?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to ask maybe why public safety, because I know buildings are under general government, but I'd welcome hearing maybe why that committee.
Oh, yeah, it did go in the middle of it.
Councilor McCauley?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. Many of these are billed as safety issues and put up, the police are there, the harbor master are there, DPS are there, both outside the building for safety and security reasons. There were some other newer projections for security on the inside of things. All of these things line up with public safety and the responsibility of PD as well as other safety officials going forward. So it's logical, I think and believe, given that the ordinance is based around the safety and surveillance of our community, and that was just my recommendation.
I'll just add for the, on the committee definitions, general government shall be concerned with supervision of city properties whose custody has not been assigned to a specific municipal department, and information technology, but Public Works and Safety has safety in it, and so I think as long as it's a COTW, and I do think this is an important one where most of us will want to weigh in on it, so. Further discussion? So a referral of
587 to
87,
General Government Committee of the Whole.
Public Works and Safety Committee of the Whole.
I'm sorry, Public Works and Safety. Roll call.
Yes.
Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes.
Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis.
Yes.
Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Leads us, Mr. President, to Order 588, investigation into matters pertaining to the Newburyport Public Library.
Motion to refer to General Government and Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Councilor Wright?
I appreciate the order, but as a financial person, this is a, there's no budget set for this. It could be $50, it could be $500,000. That's my only concern, is that there's no funding source associated with this order. So I'd be interested to hear from the administration, who's going to be the ones hiring this independent consultant to conduct the investigation, what the order of magnitude of this investigation is going to be.
Just to speak to that as the sponsor, it would be sent to committee, and that's where we'd need to get more of a handle on the cost and where the funding would come from and work on the scope. And, this is a council-led process. It really, there may be an administration involvement, but, kind of looking to the council to...
I'll be happy to hear what the council,
it would come back
Okay.
to the full council.
And I'll bring my question back then.
Yeah, thank you. Further discussion, Councilor Khan?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So this really, just to give some context, thank you, I think, for the Chair of General Government to put the order together with some assistance from some councilors, and namely, I do appreciate the work of the councilor from Ward 5, too. A lot of us, it's not easy to listen to 2 meetings of a lot of conversation. They were lengthy, they were personal, and to kind of synthesize it into something that can be brought into a public realm like us. And to be honest, this is my first time doing something like this, so I really do appreciate the work that went into it. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. In terms of budget or things that were raised, this is, like I said again, the first time I'm seeing this. But it is something that we have in our charter, in our realm to do, so we shouldn't let that prohibit us from doing the process to understand what it takes. And so I really do want to, again, thank the parties involved and thank the public who came to also get us to this point, recognizing that we are a group here that does sit together. Sometimes it's all great, fun things like block parties, and then sometimes it's things like this. We know we do the full gamut. So this is government and work, and I want to thank all of those who have been very patient and working on this. And really, I do want to say the councilor from Ward 5 and pushing us along, because otherwise we'd keep having meetings talking about the same stuff. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCauley?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for the council at large for the kind words. I have a question for the chair now, where this potentially would be sent. I'm looking for a process that would, going forward, did I hear you correctly, and here's my question, did I hear you correctly that in the next meeting or so, there'd be a definition of scope as well as a definition of process with feedback from our city solicitor along the way? They've advised us they do have a process.
Yeah.
So we'd evaluate both of those things in the next committee meeting and be able to move that forward. Is that the intent?
That would be the intent, and again, with cost in there, which is
Thank you very much.
another key factor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, motion on the floor is to refer to General Government Committee of the Whole. Roll call.
Roll call on 588, General Government Committee of the Whole. Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston? Councilor Shan? Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis? Yes. Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, which leads us to ordinances.
We have the second reading of ordinance 172, which is the zoning amendment for R2 at Hale and Wall.
Motion to approve on second reading?
Second.
We'll let the room clear. Any further discussion? Councilor Preston.
Thank you. Just because I missed the first reading on this, I just wanted to rise and make sure that people understood. I actually have recently been accused of missing the first reading so that I would not have to weigh in on this. I want to be clear, when this was discussed in community services, I said clearly that I would support this. I will support this again tonight. I have always been clear that I am supportive of moving forward with the zoning, because with that zoning we can truly get to a cost for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Wright.
Just a note that we probably should not put documents out in the public that have comments still attached to them. So this document and the document that is going to follow has highlights and comments embodied in this document that aren't part of the public record and shouldn't be included.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement. Just a second. All right, so further discussion on ordinance 172. Hearing none, roll call.
Roll call on approving second reading ordinance 172. Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
No.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
That would lead us, Mr. President, to second reading of ordinance 173.
Motion approved on second reading? Second.
Okay, made and seconded. Discussion. Okay. Hearing none.
Roll call.
Okay, any discussion on the amended Chapter 8 trash rules and regs? Councilor McCauley.
Yeah, so maybe Councilor Lane can't speak at the moment, but he did call me earlier to express his concerns, and I will share his concerns with the rest of us. Oh, there he is, so he can.
And Councilor Lane, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yep, thank you. I did have a concern with some of the language around the mentioning of the mandating of private roads, single-family homes, mandating that 50% participate in the compost program. I don't think that's exactly fair. To be honest with you, there's nobody going around in neighborhoods that aren't on private roads saying half of your street now has to sign up for composting or like we suspend your trash service. I don't think it's enforceable. I don't think it's fair, and quite frankly, it creates a little bit of a twist in that if you accept the development's trash, and then all of a sudden suspend it, you're also creating a health problem. So I would motion to amend that to suggest 50% of the homes sign up for composting rather than make it mandatory.
Councilor Khan.
Thank you, Council President. Maybe, I think this was like a compromise because private roads and the way they get maintained and the acceptance by the city, it's really, we talk about cost savings. How do we bring costs down for, taxpayers or anyone we can to relieve burden? Part of it is our the contracts, waste contracts are growing up, like the hauling contracts. And I think the intent here was to be trying to reach a compromise, trying to say, well, we know the weight, which is really what drives a lot of the costs here, is related directly to what we know is the organic matter that could be composted. So I saw this as more of an opportunity to provide at least an avenue for private roads to be included. So that's why I thought it was acceptable here. So I'm really not going to support that type of amendment.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes, so I'd like to address the council's concerns as well. I do agree with the at-large councilor. It was a bit of a compromise. So what we just had passed recently was a trash hauling contract, and in that contract, we can add 5% at no additional cost to the city. What we also have signed a year ago is we signed a trash management contract with our incinerator partner who charges us by weight. And so all of the homes that we would pick up at no cost actually have a carrying cost for the weight of the trash that would be going on. the city right now runs about 5,400 tons of trash per year. Adding these, it was an estimate in discussion purposes only, might add 300 or so tons of trash in the new communities. If we could get to composting and get it down to, let's say, 150 tons or so, it would be much more palatable to the city in terms of the cost of disposing of the waste going forward along the way. We did have the rule and regulation passed by legal counsel. They advised us that yes, because it's a private road, we can impose rules on folks because we're actually doing them a favor, doing us a favor as well along the way. We're just setting the parameters around which the favor can be granted along the way. But to the councilors from Ward 6's point, really is the trash man is coming for everyone right now. So what's gone on and hidden here that it's hidden in plain sight is that there's a mandate to reduce our weight of trash going forward. That's coming from the state. We're trying to live within that means without being too onerous on our residents going forward. We know trash is an emotional issue for many people, especially with larger families going forward. So we, within this legislation that we're trying to pass, we're going from 96 gallons, really unlimited amount of trash to throw out, to 64 gallons. It will happen over time. We will work through quote-unquote enforcement measures with our trash hauler, G-Mello, and an education campaign, which we will talk about in the next PWS meeting on the 15th, I believe. And it centers around the communication strategy, around getting the message out about the overthrow bags and how we're going to educate the public as to what we want to do with this. But the smaller barrels, we need to, the state's mandates, for example, are by 2030, we have to be at 50% of where we are in terms of weight. There's no pathway to get there, but even better, by 2050, we have to be at 90% of where we are right now, and there's definitely no pathway for that. So, as I said, the trash man's coming for us all. We've got to figure out a way to reduce our weight accordingly, and the best way to do that is through composting. The city's at a little over 30, almost 35%. Our goal is 50. So the compromise as part of that was to get the new folks that were coming on at the goal at 50% right away to begin with going forward. And we were hoping that through the discussion and education with their HOAs and et cetera, that they would embrace that going forward. And that's really the rationale behind it all. I yield.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Preston?
Yeah, thank you. So I rise as a passionate composter and someone who would like to see much more composting in the city than we see today. I will join my fellow councilors that have spoken to vote no on the amendment. And because I really do want to see more composting across the city, I have met with some of the people that live on these private roads. And frankly, I do think this is a bit of a gift to the people on the private roads. They were quite perturbed at the costs that they were spending to have their own trash hauled. And we are, as a municipality, absorbing that cost when we did not need to absorb that cost. And I think it's a wonderful compromise to ask those people to compost at a 50% level to, again, reduce the weight of the hauling that we're going to need to do on the trash side to offset some of the costs that the city's taking on that we did not need to take on. So I would be a no on this amendment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments?
There isn't a motion on the floor.
There's no second.
Motion to make
There's
the
no
amendment.
second. No second.
No second, sorry.
All right, so this discussion has been about the main motion, which was to approve. So hearing no second on that amendment, it doesn't sound like the amendment would go forward. Councilor Lane, your hand has been up the whole time. If you want to add anything, you certainly can.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
So, we know like a slippery slope here with mandating that they go with a certain company. You know, that's my main point is what is the enforcement on this? because if we're pushing them to use a certain company as a municipality, would we violating some sort of procurement law here? What's to say they don't go out and they hire another third-party company and have composting done, but we don't see it. We all of a sudden raise the red flag, and the trash man will show up in that neighborhood.
Councilor McCauley?
Sure. In direct response to the councilor's question, the city employs two different vendors to do this, so there'd be a choice. The residents also have the option of using one of the city collection sites for composting as well. The enforcement mechanism we left within the sustainability office to advise the council on this. Their pathway is twofold. One, they're going to measure the weight, and they can do that through our trash hauler with G-Mello. When they pick up the trash in a certain area, they label the trucks, they weigh it at the incinerator place, so we know exactly how much weight is coming from a particular area and route and street number, and therefore we'll know by the reduction of weight going forward that a number of people are composting. It's not going to be an exact science, but it will be hopefully more honor system than having trash police going around and recycling police going forward. I agree with you, it's a slippery slope, but that is not our intent, and our intent is to reduce the weight of trash.
Thank you, Councilor McCauley. Further discussion on the motion to approve? Okay. All right, so without further discussion, we'll move to a roll call.
Call on approving ordinance 173. Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue? Yes. Councilor Glanis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you. That leads us to ordinance 174, amend municipal fees, resident permits.
Motion to refer 174 and 175 municipal fees kiosk rate to Budget and Finance and Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Okay, so motion made for Budget and Finance, Committee of the Whole.
Collectively?
Any discussion collectively? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Okay, moving ordinance 174, 175 collectively to Budget and Finance Committee of the Whole. Councilor Lane?
Yes.
Councilor McCauley?
Yes.
Councilor Preston?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Wright?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Granis?
Yes.
Councilor Harmon?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron?
Yes. Committee items, Budget and Finance.
Motion to approve transfer 197. This is a transfer taking some so-called orphaned funds from the Plum Island Hydrant Fund Replacement Program back to its original source, which is the Plum Island Utility Trust Fund. The trust fund is where the settlement funds were originally put in. When the hydrant project was contemplated, a large transfer was done out of that utility fund into a program or project-specific account. The project has long since wrapped up. We replaced the hydrants, completing that project maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, these funds have sat in that project fund, and this is somewhat of a cleanup to put it back into the original utility fund, where, of course, if it is wished to be withdrawn from there for a purpose, it would need to come to the council for a vote. Two other things is, again, these funds now have a threshold of a bare majority to extract funds, so it's a 6 vote. Previously, it was 8 until state law changed in the past year. And lastly, the transfer was actually amended by the administration up from 175 to 272, $543.17. And the reason for that is following the completion of the FEMA work that we did a couple of weeks ago. As you know, we amended that transfer and changed the distribution of funds, so that caused more funds to be left in this account, and that's why it's now, and as we will vote on it, it will be $272, $543.17. The committee deliberated on this, and it was 3-0 to recommend approval.
Thank you, Councilor Zede. Any discussion?
Was seconded by?
Councilor Harmon?
Thank you.
Roll call.
Moving transfer 197, Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley. Yes. Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis. Yes. Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve transfer 198. This is a transfer from the Shoreline Resiliency Rail Trail Project in the amount of $45,000 to the Market Landing Park Public Art for the same amount. We've talked about this public art now in different contexts recently. As you recall, we got a $30,000 grant from the Mass Cultural Council, but we understood at that time that the total cost of the project or budget for the project was to be around $75,000. We asked where the additional $45,000 would come from. This was the answer. This $45,000 was essentially unutilized money at the end of the revetment project by the wastewater treatment plant some years ago now. At the time, the director of planning said that the money was already contemplated to be transferred for a purpose that could be used, so there was no accompanying transfer at that time. I know several councilors raised the question, well, maybe there should be a transfer. I think there should be a transfer. The administration put in this transfer 198 to that effect. Debatable, I suppose, whether the original transfer covered the public art at Market Landing or not, but you have your bite at the apple, so to say, today, if you wish. So again, you're familiar with the art at this point. That was the Public Art Committee discussion we had. The $75,000 is not a new number. The 45, and so that continues. The other thing that just kind of came out, side conversation, was that there is that big project about connecting where the revetment was built up back to Water Street, the so-called wing walls, if you were here around that time, to protect the plant from infiltration of water around the sides. And we just ended up talking about it because it was part of this original larger transfer. So I suspect a lot will be surprised at some point because that is a fairly substantive project and hasn't maybe necessarily gotten a lot of attention. So it seemed like not a bad opportunity to say that. The committee, I wouldn't say was enthusiastically 3-0, but it was 3-0 in the end to recommend approval.
Thank you, Councilor Zede. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Moving transfer 198, Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley. Yes. Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis. Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron.
Next is a motion to receive and file Communication 556. This is a memo regarding the FY23 audit. So FY23 was a million years ago, but last year, to be more accurate. Ethan Manning was with us, the finance director, talked to us a little bit about this. They did take a little longer to do the audit this year than typical. I guess there was some flux with the different firms and mergers and acquisitions. And then GASB, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board that sets the rules on how you present financials, seems to be having more changes each year, which is taking more time, both for us as in terms of preparing the stuff, and then for the auditors to review. So hopefully that will not be the case next year. You can access the financial statements themselves. We had a little bit of a conversation on the statement of net position and things along those lines. It's an extremely complex, I would say, and convoluted thing with accounting. And just as somebody who majored in accounting at one point in my life, they change the standards so often that they're actually changing. It's harder now to compare one year to another without having to extract what was just the result of a change. So, for example, adding the other pension and post-employment benefits really changed a lot about how these statements look. So if you're bored, you can certainly read about that. But we did spend some time going through the recommendations. Every year they do make recommendations about accounting controls and so forth that they suggest. The city has been making steady improvements on them. So the compensated absences has been resolved. So that was about trying to keep track of all of the sick time that was all across the city. People were accumulating and, of course, expecting contractually to be compensated for, say, upon retirement. Bank account reconciliation, that's sort of a big monster, but they've been whittling that down. That remains open. Year-end cutoff procedures, I'd say we spent the most time on this. If you read the memo, you might have seen the thing about how you account for teachers' salaries over the summer, an encumbrance versus a liability. It's more of an accounting type thing than any material thing in terms of getting paid more or things along those lines. And then recommendation 4 was yet again preparing for the next round of GASB changes. We talked a little bit about those things. In the end, it was a 3-0 recommendation to receive and file.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Receiving and filing communication 556, Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes.
Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis.
Yes.
Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
And Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we do have a regular standing meeting this Thursday. I can tell you for sure two things will be discussed at our committee of the whole. One is the consolidation of school functions. I want you to know that the superintendent and the full school committee have been invited to attend, but I did want to say that this acceptance of this local option, as they call it, is solely a council vote, and it's a bare majority. If in the future, pending the outcome of that, an actual consolidation is desired, then it would need to be a majority vote of both bodies. But they've been invited in the interest of collaboration. Secondarily, I've invited the Whittier superintendent, who will be joining us to talk about the SOI a little bit. I also extended an invite to both of the Whittier school committee members to see if they might attend as well. From there, it's a little less certain what will be discussed, but we'll probably do the SAFE grant. We now have the parking fees. I am very much lost on the CIP order. I will have to think about and try and welcome input from you all as far as what your expectations are of the committee to make it productive and to try and make it useful time for all of us. And then finally, I know we had to put aside, frankly, the Curtis because of the budget. But now that we're coming out of that, I have already reached out to the 3 gentlemen you saw who spoke here, and Karis North as well, and I will keep you posted when a meeting materializes where we can have all those folks, as that's committee of the whole as well. And that's it for budget. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for those updates. That would bring us to community services.
Yeah, thank you. So the only thing we have in the docket for community services is appointment 495, which is a reappointment to the Emma Andrews Library. We were hoping to take it up at our meeting last Monday night. Unfortunately, our appointee had to cancel on us at the last minute. And so that frankly would leave us to our next meeting, which is July 15th, which I am on vacation. So we are not going to have that meeting, give my fellow committee members a night off in July. And we will move that appointment on the ensuing meeting on August 5th.
Thank you. General government, nothing to report. We will be meeting to discuss the library investigation and also to handle an appointment to the Board of Registrars. And that would get us to licenses and permits.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to add a motion to approve application 205, so the Cultural Survival Arts Bazaar.
Second.
Thank you. So this application is for an event that's going to be held on the 20th and 21st. It is going to be held in a combination of in-street, the Tracy Square and Market Square. When we spoke with the applicant, they informed us that they had received permission from the Parks Department for the part of in-street that is under their jurisdiction. There was also conversations about the plan that they provided, which shows them putting some tables on Pleasant Street, on the corner of In Street and Loretta's. We pointed out that that space is being used for outdoor dining, so we recommended that they move some of those tables down to where the restaurant seating is now, because the restaurant is not currently being used. And so with those suggestions, it was voted out of committee 3-0.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Application 205, hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Lane?
Yes.
Counselor McCauley?
Yes.
Counselor Preston?
Yes.
Counselor Shan?
Yes.
Counselor Wright?
Yes.
Counselor Zede?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Granis? Yes. Counselor Harmon?
Yes.
Counselor Khan?
Yes.
Counselor Cameron?
Yes.
Motion to approve application 210.
Second.
This is for the High Street Mile. Many of you are familiar with this. It's on the, it's part of Yankee Homecoming, although not part of Yankee Homecoming. This is an event that runs from Atkinson Common up to the high school. There's no street closures. They've obviously done this for a number of years. They take care of keeping the roads safe and keeping the heats, because they run multiple heats in the morning. And they have water stops and other things along the way. This also was voted out of committee with an approval of recommendation 3-0.
Okay. Further discussion, application 210. Hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Lane?
Yes.
Counselor McCauley?
Yes.
Counselor Preston?
Yes.
Counselor Shan?
Yes.
Counselor Wright?
Yes.
Counselor Zede?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Granis?
Yes.
Counselor Harmon?
Yes.
Counselor Khan?
Yes.
Counselor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve application 216.
Second.
So this is an application to have a block party. The block party they've done this event before. It runs on Doe Run, and the street's really wide there. So even though the road might be blocked, there'll still be access for emergency vehicles if required. Where they are, there's 2 ways to get in and out of that subdivision, so there's no real impact to anybody that needs access to the subdivision. This is going to be from 2 p.m. till 6 p.m., and it's on August 24th. It was recommended out of committee 3-0.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Lane?
Yes.
Counselor McCauley?
Yes.
Counselor Preston?
Yes.
Counselor Shan?
Yes.
Counselor Wright?
Yes.
Counselor Zede?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Granis? Counselor Harmon?
Yes.
Counselor Khan?
Yes.
Counselor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve application 217.
Second.
This is an application for a movable sign. It's an A-frame that's going to be located, for the name of the business is Coastal Chic. It borders on Water Street, but they don't have front door access. So if you've reviewed this, you can see they want to put an A-frame on the public sidewalk, directing people to their main entrance. We heard from the applicant. They'll do all the things that we require. They'll remove the sign and bring it indoors at the end of their business day. And this again was voted out of committee with a vote to approve 3-0.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilor Donahue?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually going to be rising in opposition of this A-frame and any A-frame that is coming forward in the future. The reason being, as much as we expect when we have these come before us and they agree that they will do all the right things as business owners, a lot of the times, unfortunately, those signs are left to employees to deal with, and they are not often put in the right place on the sidewalk during the day. They're a nuisance, they're a tripping hazard, they are really hazardous for people with mobility issues, as well as vision issues, for obvious reasons. So for that reason, I'm not going to be supporting them at any point in the future moving forward. Thank you. No offense to any of the businesses.
Thank you. Councilor Wright?
So, in respect to my councilor's position, my fellow councilor's position, perhaps it might be more effective if you propose a change to the ordinance rather than just objecting each time we have a movable sign come up. That would be my recommendation to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, roll call on application 217.
Counselor Lane?
Yes.
Counselor McCauley? Yes. Counselor Preston?
Yes.
Counselor Shan?
Yes.
Counselor Wright?
Yes.
Counselor Zede?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
No.
Counselor Granis? Counselor Harmon?
Yes.
Counselor Khan?
Yes.
Counselor Cameron?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve appointment 498.
Second. Excuse me for 1 second, I'd like to recuse myself.
So this is an appointment of Jeff Cutter to the licensing board. This term will expire on June 1st, 2030. It should be noted for the record that our charter requires a memo because he'll be holding more than one position within the city. And my understanding is that memo has been provided to the clerk and is on record. So Mr. Cutter met with us. He's very interested in participating in the licensing board. He's a longtime city resident, been involved in a number of things, as you can see from his resume. And his appointment was voted out of committee, also 3-0 for approval.
Okay, any further discussion? And yes, that was per the charter, section 913, limitation on office holding, unless otherwise allowed by law, et cetera, no person shall simultaneously hold more than one city office or position of employment. This provision may be waived by the mayor upon the appointment of any person by filing a notice of such waiver with an explanation and justification with the city clerk. So that was filed by the mayor with the clerk. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, maybe I should read into the record that I received a notice of waiver today, quote, from the mayor, I am issuing this waiver to meet section 913 of our city charter. Jeff has been an exceptional employee during his tenure with the fire department. I do not see any conflicts arising from serving these two positions. Jeff Cutter also plans on retiring later this year. Sincerely, the mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
On approving appointment of Jeff Cutter, Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley is recused for the record. Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis.
Yes.
Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to receive and file communication 558.
Second.
So this came in as a communication, so it's nothing we can really act on. It's a request by the library board, by the librarian, to have temporary no parking permits issued on August 30th for 4 consecutive parking spaces in front of the library to allow a horse and carriage to park in front of the Tracy Mansion portion of the library. So we voted, recommended to receive and file this with notice to the clerk to accommodate the library as best as he can for that day. Although it's nothing we could approve. So it came out of committee with a recommendation to receive and file 3-0.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, motion to receive and file communication 558. Roll call.
Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes.
Councilor Preston.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Granis.
Yes.
Councilor Harmon.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Sorry.
And Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you, Council President. So that concludes the items that came out of committee. For the record, my apologies to anybody who tried to attend the meeting via Zoom. The incorrect link was posted on the agenda, so some people I was able to reach to have them go to the new link. Others I was not able to reach. So those 2 items that were taken that are remaining in committee will be taken up at our next meeting on the 17th, along with everything else that's been assigned to our committee.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wright. Planning and Development.
So we don't have anything coming out. We do have our meeting on next Tuesday, the 16th, where we'll be dealing with the 2 appointments, Michael Doucette and Joe Texera, and that is it from P&D.
Thank you, Councilor Shand. Public Works and Safety.
Thank you, Council President. Nothing tonight to report, but we do have 3 items of intriguing interest, I know, to most folks. We have next Monday night, We'll talk about the communication plan for the trash and solid waste program that we argued about tonight. We'll have a discussion about the request for amended speed limits, and we will review the intermunicipal agreement with West Newbury and Newbury on the Plummer Spring Middle Street Bridge evaluation going forward, and that is council of the whole going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And what time is that meeting on Monday? 6:30. Thank you. That would lead us to good of the order. Councilor Khan?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I think there were conversations about how we want to think about summer and having just a couple of meetings, breaks. Some people are traveling, or because of kids, we've got different schedules, and there is a lot of work happening, and as we're hearing, I'm really bummed because I am going to be on vacation. I will be missing some of the Monday items here. So something to think about when we do our calendar setting is we used to have like July, Yankee homecoming off, and maybe to think a little bit more about how we want to schedule. And it's not just us. I think also the public might be missing some important conversations as well. So something to think about. And I think when we set the calendar, maybe we were not really honed in on that, but I just want to encourage that we think about the breaks we also need to take, and maybe think of ways we could kind of do our work and get some of that summer, that break period for all the counselors. I just want to make a point of that.
Just to note, I know originally the second meeting in July, I believe, was the 29th, and we did change that to the 22nd to avoid Yankee homecoming because it was pointed out then. But point taken. Councilor Z?
Yeah, maybe just to put a sharper point on it, I don't know if we could, or Mr. President, if you would consider, maybe we get rid of the second meeting in July and add another meeting in August. I don't know, I must have had a brain freeze when I reviewed it, because I think that's historically what we've done, right? Am I missing that, or do we always take the meeting?
It'd be worth looking at. It's
I mean, I have it on my calendar, so it's not like it's going to make, for me personally, but mentally I thought I was getting till the first meeting in August off. Pardon me, mistake on my part. So maybe that's something, if there's a will amongst the council. We have one meeting scheduled in August right now. Maybe we could add a second meeting, the latter half, as we get towards Labor Day, and jettison this meeting in a couple weeks. But, that's for your consideration.
If people are, I think, personally, I think we can't have one meeting in July and one meeting in August. One month at least needs two meetings, otherwise things do build up, as we know, and you never know what's coming down the road. But if there's interest in changing July to August, we don't have to hash it out here, but in the intervening, I can talk to each of you and just check in on a possible. We do have an August 12th meeting of the full council. I will say there's a couple of the Plummer Springs Bridge. There's a bit of urgency to that because there's some federal ARPA money that the town of West Newbury is putting forward. They need to have that obligated by the end of the year, and there's also some state and federal funds related to that. And I think that may be the most pressing thing. So we can stick with what we've got, which again I think is the 22nd, if people have planned around that. And then certainly when we look to the calendar next year, just remember this conversation and try to make that happen.
Thank you. So, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion to adjourn.
Council Lane.
Yes.
Council McCauley.
Yes.
Council Preston. Council Shan.
Yes.
Council Wright.
Yes.
Council Z.
Yes.
Council Donahue.
Yes.
Council Granis. Council Hahn.
Yes.
Council Khan.
Yes.
Council Cameron. Yes. We are done.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Earlier on the 15th.